Okay, 1 o'clock. Welcome, Jack. We are so excited to have your poetry reading again to start off in the new year. So the floor is all yours, Jack.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining, everybody. I'll get right to it. It's going to be a garland of poems. Various poets, and including myself, will be part of it also. But I want to start off with um, a lovely mystic named William Blake, who did etchings too, fantastic etchings besides writing poetry. Here's one he wrote about a tiger. The tiger, 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 burning bright in the forests of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasps? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? That was William Blake. He wrote mystical poetry, and here's one he called Auguries of Innocence. And it's very long, so I'm going to just read a selection from it. Otherwise, it would take probably 20 minutes to read. Auguries of Innocence. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. A robin redbreast in a cage puts all heaven in a rage. He who respects the infant's faith triumphs over hell and death. The child toys and the old man's reason are the fruits of the two seasons. Some are born to sweet delight, some are born to endless night. We are led to believe a lie when we see not through thy eye, which was born in a night to perish in a night when the soul slept in beams of light. God appears and God is light to those poor souls who dwell in night. But does a human form display to those who dwell in realms of day? There's another poet from the 19th, early 20th century, middle 20th century, Robert Frost. The road not taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as far that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how a way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. Well, as if you, I sailed for about 10 years in the Merchant Marine, and I have a lot of affinity to the ocean. Wrote a couple poems about it myself. But one of my favorite sea-themed poets is John Masefield. Sea fever. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea in the sky. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick, and the wind song, and the white sails shaking, and a gray mist on the sea's face, and a gray dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. This is another one by John Masefield called A Wanderer's Song. A wind's in the heart of me, a fire's in my heels. I'm tired of brick and stone and rumbling wagon wheels. I hunger for the sea's edge, the limit of the land, where the wild Atlantic is shouting on the sand. Oh, I'll be going, leaving the noises of the streets, to where a lifting foresail foot is yanking at the sheet, to a windy tossing anchorage where yawls and ketches ride. Oh, I'll be going, going until I meet the tide. And first I'll hear the sea wind, the mewing of the gulls, the clucking sucking of the sea about the rusty hulls, the songs at the capstan at the hooker warping out, when the heart of me I'll know I'm there or thereabout. Oh, I'm sick of brick and stone. The heart of me is sick for windy green, unquiet sea, the realm of Moby Dick. And I'll be going, going from the roaring of the wheels, for a wind's in the heart of me, a fire's in my heels. Edgar Allan Poe is known for his kind of haunting horror, but he was a very romantic person. And here's one he called Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of the cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels not so happy in heaven went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea. that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in the sepulchre there in her tomb by the sounding sea. Here's one by me. I'm somewhat of a romantic, perhaps, and it's dedicated to my wife, as a matter of fact. It's called Fire Eve. We aged by the firelight with the velvet night in its struggle against the dawn. Your eyes whispered ashes into tongues of fire, cast like skipping stones into lost ripples, echoing the glass drops of rain rat-a-tat-tat, while the ribbon of my soul unwound by the light in the palm of your hand, and I saw the present through the lens of long past, and I kissed your living memory in the ribs of bone, courting us here too, forevermore. Sometimes relationships end, and here's one I wrote about a relationship ending. It's called Tracks. I see our whole life together, looking back, like tracks in the snow. When the sun shines or the wind blows, they'll be covered, melt away, and disappear. What's left, only you and I will know, just as what has been, no one else will ever understand that journey. Now something has died, but it's meant to be. The old skin is sloughed off. What remains is rough, hewn like stone. Where the feeling is gone, the limb has died. Someday the whole tree will fall and pass away back into the earth. What of the many long gone summers, the shade given by caressing arms, the leaves that rained and fall, the bark that bristled and burst, bigger and stronger. So many creatures called the rugged embrace of those limbs their home. The craggy root, like an eagle's claw, at last releases its furious grip. Something remains forever, immutable, long-standing. It's just that there's no simple vestige of which to frame or shrine in which to place it. Sometimes we're motivated or about things that are not particularly happy, but are part of life and have their good sides too. Here's one I wrote called, I've done this before, it's called Call the Night. And again, the reference is Lucifer is the devil, and he brought the light. That's what it means. Lucus, luce, that's the Latin for light. And fur, they put that together, means to make or create or bring. So how could the devil, Satan, be the bringer of light? And this poem is about that question. Call the night. Darkness, darkness, be my guide to the secrets of the other side. Spin fate's web, whirl fortune's wheel, break down the walls the light does seal. Darkness, darkness, be my door into the waters of the whirling world. Starless night, be my guide to all the mysteries the light does hide. Let no Lucifer light of day blind my journey, lead me astray. Darkness, darkness, now call the night, put the illusion of day to flight. Darkness, darkness, be my door, down the stairs to the nether world, along the river of the dreamless sky. Take my hands to wing and fly. Sometimes it's better not to analyze things, just see how you feel about them and let it spiral and sink through you, and then suddenly a meaning will be clear. But it's about the distraction of material things from the soul, from the internal, meaningful things. So along that theme, I've done this before, but it was when I went to Montana and went to the state park, now that it is, of Little Bighorn, Montana, which you can go to and visit. And that's where the massacre of Custer and his troops were done. And it's a sad fate of, or a fact of history. And we're still healing from it, from what we did to the Native Americans. Echo. From a visit to Little Bighorn, Montana. The late sun of winter arrives out of place. It's a warm memory of lost childhood and a stodgy season of cold adulthood. I sit crumpled in serpentine like a spider. Mammoth bones move like a flea on ice. There's a cup of red blood on my doorstep, a gift of the fatal season. Where a war whoop whispers in my stone ear, like an axe at my fingertips, while my stomach crows for one last ghost dance. I can hear a cry as old as birth itself, seething like a wind chime on windy seas of grass. My heart beats like a trumpet. I feel like a sailor in ruddy solar seas as my naked feet drag through the hard, hilly earth, married as they are to such a graceful woman. I leave without song or memory, except for a hard, stony seed buried now in the yellow-haired intestines of my long, crooked soul. So sometimes we write things, or it's a process of healing and moving on. And in that vein, I'm going to read a poem. I'm sorry, I'm feeling very emotional today. I may, yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah. This is written by a friend of mine who is a Vietnam veteran. He did not think it was a poem. He wrote a book recently about his experiences, and his name is Darren Walton. I've known him since high school, and he was a combat veteran, very severe experience. And his book is called DD Mao, which means hurry and get out of there. It's what all Vietnam veterans know what that means. And I said, Darren, I read his book, and I said, I'd like to record your poem. And he said, I'm not a poet. I didn't even know it's not a poem. I said, I think it's a poem. And it's very short. It's called I Saw Their Faces. I saw their faces, our eyes locked together. Their uniform pockets had letters and photos, family and friends, same as mine. Close to our hearts, IDs too. They were 19, so was I. We were the same. I saw the guys I killed. I had killed me. I'm sorry. Oh man. Yeah, the book came out about a year and a half ago now. It's about his experiences there. Um, sorry, just hit me. I'm gonna read something a little lighter. William Shakespeare, one of his sonnets that are particularly beautiful, and it's about the passage of time, and we don't stay young forever, but love remains and beyond death even. Sonnet number 18, very famous one. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. What rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. And sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderedst in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Moving on to, I've said before that this is, all in all, this is in many ways, of course, to say a poem is the greatest one in the English language is a little bit overreaching perhaps, but this is one I feel particularly fond of, and it's a very religious poem without taking any particular denomination. It was about true anyway. It's Dylan Thomas's "The Force That Through the Green Fuse Drives the Flower." The force that through the green fuse drives the flower, drives my green age, that blasts the roots of trees, is my destroyer. And I am dumb to tell the crooked rose my youth is bent by the same wintry fever. The force that drives the water through the rocks drives my red blood, that dries the mouthing streams, turns mine to wax. And I am dumb to mouth unto my veins out the mountain spring, the same mouth sucks. The hand that whirls the water in the pool stirs the quicksand, that ropes the blowing wind, hauls my shroud sail. And I am dumb to tell the hanging man how of my clay is made the hangman's lime. The lips of time leach to the fountainhead. Love drips and gathers, but the fallen blood shall calm her sores. And I am dumb to tell a weather's wind how time has ticked to heaven round the stars. And I am dumb to tell the lover's tomb how at my sheet goes the same crooked worm. I'm going to go back to Edgar Allan Poe, and it's a playful poem that is very meaningful also. El Dorado, gaily bedight, a gallant knight in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed so long singing a song in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. "Shadow," said he, "where can it be, this land of El Dorado?" "Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. Ride, boldly ride," the shade replied, "if you seek for El Dorado." I'm going to read another one that I did about a boat that I saw over a period of, I think it was almost 2 years, taking shape in the middle of a grassy field, about an acre in size. Birth of a boat. I passed it every day, an embryo gestating like a cicada in the earth, outplaced in a hayfield, 20,000 leagues from the sea. Prostrate, an absurd monument, as helpless as a back-flipped beetle, begging for direction. The static hull specimen mounted wash by amber waves of grain longed for something it could not conceive, never doubting what one instant that somewhere existed a thing like the sea. Amidst its unyielding dry demand in a hopeless setting, my routine of weeks and months greeted it like a friend, accepted it, took it for granted. As we aged together and its distant features changed as slowly as mine by the old man who secretly labored on its gaunt ironwood visage only in my absence. Hurriedly one day I noticed nothing, and the next the same, another forgotten greeting. till quietly the third time to hello. I felt an absence before I knocked its door. The whole full bloomed was gone, like a grown child, like a late father I had missed its birthing, and like a childhood friend I never saw it again. Now when I pass by that way, I still look for that boat born from a hayfield. I'm going to go with Percy Bysshe Shelley, famous 19th century poet. Little factoid about Shelley. His direct descendant was my girlfriend in high school, and I didn't believe her, but it's true. Her last name was Shelley, and she actually looked like Shelley when you look at his picture and you looked at her. So, um, and she wrote poetry. So anyway, this is not by her. This is just another by Shelley called Ozymandias. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, by the hand that mocked them in the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. No thing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level stands stretch far away." Here's a this is my poem. It's more like a song, and I hitchhiked around the country twice alone. And sometimes I just slept on the side of the road and waited for morning. This was a long time ago, and it's more dangerous now, but I had an interesting time. Met a lot of people, and I remember it was getting dark, and I don't know, in Nebraska or something in the middle of nowhere, or maybe it was South Dakota now, because I went through there too. I don't remember exactly where it was. But anyway, it was getting dark. And so I just had to, go sleep by the side of the road, which seemed fairly safe. So I wrote a little song when I was doing that. It's called Under the Lights of Eden, a hitchhiker's song. It's been a long, lonesome time under the lights of Eden. Yes, it's been a long, lonesome time under the lights of Eden. Yes, it's been a long, long, lonesome time under the lights of Eden, waiting for the break of day. I guess it's here I'll make my stand. Yes, I guess it's here I'll make my stand. Yes, it's here I'll make my stand under the lights of Eden, waiting for the break of day. I'm going to ask for Jesus's hand. Yes, I'm going to ask for Jesus' hand to help me make that stand under the lights of Eden, waiting for the break of day. Yes, I'm asking for Jesus's hand to reach for the light and song, I'm asking for Jesus' hand, reach for the light of song, hoping he'll let me through heaven's door. Maybe they'll let me sweep the floor. It's been a long, lonesome time under the lights of Eden. Yes, it's been a long, lonesome time under the lights of Eden. Pick something a little bit lighter. Um, I wrote a children's book composed of silly poems, and it's about uses the about mostly African animals, but and it has some factoids about the animals at the second half of the book. But they're just silly poems. One is called "I'd Rather Be a Rhinoceros." Now, a rhinoceros can be quite monstrous. In fact, my size and shape are quite preposterous. With my head like a box and the horn on my nose, why it's so long I can hardly clean my stubby toes. For a rhinoceros lady, it's hard to be dainty when you're 3,000 pounds heavy and weighty. I try to be quiet when I walk through the bush, but it's like asking an avalanche to try to keep hush. When I go shopping, they must never ask charged. That last word gets me excited. Look out for my barrage. There's a little bird who lives on my neck. Just when he's home, I can never keep track. But when he's eating his dinner, I'm sure of that because it's from my hide that he pulls and picks so many insects, especially the ticks. He keeps me informed by whispering in my ear, so I'm never surprised and have nothing to fear. Though I'm always honest, truthful, and that's good, I know. Still, the best name for rhinoceros is Pinocchio. The introduction to this little book, I don't know if you can, yeah, it doesn't work. Oh, well, anyway, it's called Admiral Aardvark's Fantastic Menagerie. And the introductory poem is Admiral Aardvark sails the sea. Admiral Aardvark on a horse cashew bravely sails the ocean blue. His helmet, stars pulled from the sky, shines from his head like a butterfly. His boat, an ark, no small canoe, full of animals, is just like a zoo. His favorite meal, a bowl of ants, his tail lassos around his pants. With golden buckle and telescope, he keeps special magic in an envelope. Like Noah, he built an ark to sail the world with adventurous lark. Through childhood's rainy day window sails he against a gale of orchids with serenity, till he rests at night, quiet and secure, in bed under the covers, kissed with nurture by his mom and dad in a warm burrow, to sleep secure until tomorrow. And when the wind blows through the sunlit shadows, through our pockets, sleeves, and moonlit meadows, we can be just like Admiral Aardvark throughout our day, with happy adventures as our lifetime way. And I wrote this with somebody asked me, well, what age range is this book? And for? I said, well, age 3 to 103. And so the concluding poem on here is I called Alone After School. It's for kids who maybe felt alone. Sometimes I remember as a kid, just after school's out, you're sitting there all alone, even your friends have gone, and it just seems it's a profound experience, as a matter of fact, when you're young and growing up. But um, it's called Alone After School, a song for lonely children. I've always wondered just what I'd do if left all alone after school. The playground deserted and no one around, the wind blowing with a lonely sound. Striking the steel post with a tether ball chain as a Dixie cup rolls across the asphalt plain. Yes, I've always wondered just what I'd do all alone on the playground after school. I might sit on the bench with my hand on my chin and wonder when the people are coming back again. While my friends were all eating dinner at home, I'd rummage through my lunch bag alone. A stray dog might come and beg of me. When I tried to pet him, he'd turn and flee. I might look through the windows of the deserted school, thinking of days inside with the work I must do. Then remember a recess with a 50-yard race, now vanished from the schoolyard without a trace. Finally, I'd realize just who I am, a Robinson Crusoe in search of a friend. But no matter how lonely I might feel, I have inside me what is most real. And the best thing that can ever happen to me is having myself to know and to be. Well, I think maybe I'll conclude with my a little bit. I mentioned this one before. It's almost literally true that the I sailed on a ship, um, though I did sail through typhoon. Uh, this one includes the fact that the captain of the ship on a different ship, but anyway, it was the same captain. By the way, he almost electrocuted me when he turned a circuit on that he wasn't supposed to. But it's called Typhoon Delilah. It was the winter of '77, sailing the China Sea in a rust bucket, christened Copa for the shipping company. We sailors were on the fantail, drinking a Formosan brew, with oiler, firemen, and the rest of the black gang crew. It was then the wind picked up and the sea began to foam. She was Typhoon Delilah, and we were so far away from home. Dead ahead she lay, black as night, angry as all hell's devils and screeching with affright. Should we steer around her or push this bucket through? The helmsman asked the captain, wondering what to do. The skipper in a trance sounded strange as he said, "Keep your course, sailor. Dead ahead, dead ahead." The helmsman paled and swallowed hard, steering as was bid. In his desperate mind, he bade farewell to his wife and only kid. Just then the mate ran up and called, "Captain, sir, that's Typhoon Delilah. We can't possibly sail through her." "Mind your place, sailor. I'm skipper of this ship. I met Delilah before. This time I'll give her the slip." The seas picked up crashing over the bridge. The wind howled like a freight train out of control on a mountain ridge. The Copa was tossed like a cork and rolling keg of beer when the chief rang up and cried, "We can't give you steam to steer." The captain just repeated, "Get ahead, get ahead." The engineer cried, "You're crazy. It's nonsense what you've said." The bell of the ship rang frantically fore and aft. It was rung by Delilah, and it said to man the life raft. The tie cord had broken. She'd taken control of the bell and turned a peaceful voyage into a living hell. The crew in dread heard the bidding of that bell and dutifully ran to their station in answer to its knell. The captain shouted, "Come back! I never gave the word." But his speech was wasted in the wind and never heard. Every man was drowned trying to clear the ship. Only the captain, he would give her the slip. He was condemned by the fates that rule heaven and earth to forever sail into Delilah for all that he was worth, and to command with these few words, more honored were never said: "Keep your course, Copa, dead ahead, dead ahead." I should have explained some of the glossary before this. It's when I sailed, it was all the ships were steamships, just a few were diesel. Now it's the other way around. And um, the helmsman is the sailor who steers the ship. The chief, just said by that, is the head of the engine department. The black gang, engine room, their engine room personnel is still called that, but it's a historical reference to coal-powered days, and the workers in the engine room would be covered with coal dust. Formosa is now contemporary Taiwan. And mate, that's the chief mate. He's second in command after the captain. And Copa was the name of this ship. And this poem was dead ahead is a nautical term meaning go straight ahead. And just the events of the poem, the man who was captain on the ship that sailed through the typhoon and lost a good deal of the cargo and almost caused the ship to be sank. And why did he do it? Why did he sail through the typhoon? In a short answer, he was nuts, and he shouldn't have done it. He almost lost the whole ship. And when he came back, returned to San Francisco, he was he lost his license and he was no longer captain. Though they would let him sail as second mate because he was very knowledgeable, but they wouldn't let him make commanding decisions. So I think I've kept you over too long. And
Thank you
anyway,
so
thank
much.
you.
Amazing. Thank you, Jack. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Take
You're
care.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Okay.